Hi, welcome to for today. I'm Sophie, a pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our journey, our flight into the deep of this language. And yesterday we talked about the 出师表, which was a passage, a pre-war statement or speech. Well, I'm not exactly sure in ancient times, in the year 2027 in China, wartime China, that the people make public speech like the current American, right? And it's broadcasted, all that. Back then, this 出师表 is self-expression, like expression, a formal statement. Somebody, 诸葛亮, put together to give to the second generation leader. And this 表 probably could be just one-to-one. So you as the chief brain, chief military strategist, give your best, angle perspective on the current affairs, giving to the new leader. So this could be one-on-one, not exactly public speech. So it's a slightly different, audience and use. But this is probably one of the most famous pre-war statements. Okay, today we have 一表人才, much lighter and civilian context. So there's no bloody military, pre-war statement is like at the risk you don't know. You could, the whole army gone, wiped out if you fail, right? Higher stake endeavor. But over here is just 一表人才, is in a society, in a regular peaceful time society. This talks about the tendency of people. We have in 2023 now, this profiling, right? Profiling is just a contemporary way to say stereotyping. That's something we all do. We definitely prejudge a person just by the appearance, by the look, without even talking and interact with that person, right? So every one of us already form a certain opinion, a baseline, our expectation, right, of what that person is, just based on the surface information, which is the look. So here we talk exactly that. Chinese has a phrase for that. 一表人才. Okay, 一, nothing much to say, just horizontal one, which means one. And Chinese always like to attach some philosophical, bigger concept to the word creation, right? So this is one of those. That horizontal line means the sky. If you add the second line below it, that's the ground. And the third line would be the human. So that's the three, the trinity, the so-called Chinese trinity, probably. I mean, I just make it up. But that one, the sky, one thing, the first thing, world created from the sky first. So that become one. I think number one probably is the concept that exists in all cultures, right? Just dealing with everyday life, we have to have a certain numerical sense. And this one is the starting point, right? Like in the West or in the imperial system, it's dozen. In a supermarket, things are sold in dozens, right? In the 12th unit. But in Chinese, at least, and probably in other cultures, is number 10, because we have 10 fingers. So that's a just natural default. How we count things is 10. So this is the starting point of this one. Okay. 一表, again, we have the surface, this fur coat, this, front collar line and the back collar line, and or you can see a cone hat, but I guess in this context, it's more the clothing. There's no hat involved. And this horizontal, whenever we see a horizontal like that, it is a fur. It is something furry over there. So in this case, it's a fur coat, and eventually extended into the fur on the fur coat, which is the outside of, because you're not going to wear the fur side inside, right? It probably won't be comfortable. The fur side, the insulation occur on the outer layer, and the inside is still the smooth, the skin side, right? So that's the traditional fur coat. So this fur code eventually extended into the key message here is to referring to the fur side of the code, which is the outside, which is the appearance, which is the look. So this just tells you, just take one look. That's a super quick judgment, right? I mean, that's just based on one single data point almost, right? You just take one look at a person, and then your mind, every one of us, start to compute of how this person is. And here in this context, 一表人才, they talks about you want to look appropriate to be just by taking one look. You look as if you are a talented person. So this person, this is the contemporary Chinese simplified, looks like an Eiffel Tower, right? With two legs. So my understanding is Chinese extract generic human or person. Generic meaning there's no gender, no age, no demographic information. It's just a person, a living being. I mean, living conscious being that's standing on two legs. So this two leg standing structure becomes the distinguished feature of how you identify this as a person. So the first thing before you can, conscious part is difficult to describe, right? But standing on two legs is the main feature. So that's captured to mean humans. And in traditional ways, sometimes they got stylized. Of one side is more streamlined, the other side is more curvious. It almost looks like a contemporary, not contemporary, it looks like a English R, right? Letter R. But that's human as well. And I want to point out in historical context, the most literacy exists mostly among men. So even if this is a generic man, but because of the language users back then who were educated and can read and write, Chinese were mostly men. So this human figure mostly applying in the context of men. Okay, and Cai, we have talent. It came from, okay, this is a ground level. And we have this almost like a zoomed view of like a plant growing. Actually, in this case, it's a plant not growing yet. The plant just showing a little bit of tip above the ground. Majority of the work is underground, the unseen part. And so deep in there, it's kind of like a pointer to show, okay, that this triangular shape kind of going down like that. So it's one of the stylized way to kind of direct your attention, the viewer of that character to, going below the ground level and kind of focus on the root below there. So the concept here is at the starting point of a new living. In this case, it's not, I mean, we're using plant to mean people, okay? So in this case, it looks like a plant, right? So the plant just started growing. It doesn't have this three, like trident shape plant leaves, branches out yet. It's just at the beginning of his life cycle. But this pointer of focusing on the root is to show that this new living being have the potential, have the generic code, or have, given the environment, I mean, supposedly this ground level, so it was planted, at least landed, having a growing, like incubating place to, given that it can grow and the branches, the flowers will come later. So this shows the plant's beginning of the journey and point to the fact that even if over above the ground, it looks tiny bit, but because of this here, deep down at the roots, it has all the code necessary, probably the nutrition necessary for it to grow tall and bloom one day. So that shows the potential And the Chinese use this plant-based symbol to talk about person, of course. So it's a person, a young person who haven't cashed out or materialized or actualized the full potential of that person is capable yet. But because we see look, right, just based on the surface judgment, we can tell that person has potential, has, in English we call it the talent, but the origin of this character means potential. So we can tell this person is capable, could become something. So that's basically 一表人才 is this one look judging a person thing. It's totally, well, I translate it as a looker. It's, okay, in contemporary Chinese, 一表人才, when we use that expression, it doesn't mean, okay, you look the look of a talented person. The emphasis is becoming like bounce back to the surface level. The emphasis is not on the talent, the potential, judged by your appearance. The emphasis is not on that anymore. It gets back to the surface level. 一表人才, almost like a 表, like probably because it's difficult to tell a person's trajectory in life. Like, how can you say one person is going to be more successful or more useful than the other person just by the look, right? It's hard to tell. But over here, because it's hard to tell, we simply don't do the forecast that much. We just look at the right now and here, the look that person presents itself to the world. I mean, him or herself to the world. That surface level look becomes the key thing. Like if that person have a good look, that's 一表人才. We're going to assume definitely that person is talented as well. Just by the outside look, we assume the inside, right? And eventually this outside look takes the dominant meaning. It becomes a looker. So somebody who looks good, and regardless of the future potential, at least right now, that person is more attractive or something like that. So 一表人才 eventually in contemporary Chinese means somebody who looks good. And because 人才 means potential, so that by deducing the meaning of 人才, like future potential, that implies here the person is at a young age. We don't use this phrase on older folks whose talent already kind of past their midlife point, like they're where they are pretty much already, their trajectory probably finished halfway through. So we kind of, forecast the future. But here mostly use the like a new college grads or something like that at early career stage talents, like young folks who has potential and who has the look and who have attractive look probably. Okay, so I try to search, and luckily I want to show you the way Chinese is Chinese calligraphy. So this is a simplified Chinese, and there's nothing fancy about the writing, but still, simply because Chinese written image, now when we see here is generic, it's already sanitized, so to speak, like standardized at least, and not standardized. So there is no personal expression in there. It's a standardized. Every Chinese read that easily, clear. There's no mistaken of any characters to confusion, right, to other characters. But here is kind of somebody handwritten these characters, same as every one of that. And you can see like this person has a longer stroke this way and then a tiny. So that's a kind of stylized, intentionally create asymmetrical structure to give it a certain dynamic, right? And you also see the spacing or the dynamics between the characters. Now this is written kind of like a traditional Chinese way, from top down structure or from right to left instead of this, Western language habit from left to right, from left to right, top left to right, right? But Chinese, we do traditionally the top down, and then the second column from right to left, top down. So this is kind of a tribute to the traditional Chinese expression. And you can see the spacing, the character's placement, because character 1 has only one line, so it doesn't necessarily to keep the same spacing as like have a big blank after that, right? So it's placed pretty close to the next character. And then you can see biao is kind of expanded to the whole horizontal space there, right? From this end to this end. And then ren is placed a little bit to the left and cai placed a little bit to the right. So the whole structure of the 4 characters in this frame achieved a certain harmony by placing individual characters a little bit off center, and therefore create a certain tension and a dynamic. I hope it's clear. So here, I just want to show you that, and this is kind of a visual representation of what would be considered as a 一表人才, as a looker. So he's a pop song artist, and the lyrics mostly about somebody who had a big breakup and broke his heart, and so he was trying to put up the surface or the look of still look eligible, competent, healthy, and all that, stable, all that. But inside he was like collapsed and all that. So at least on the surface level, 一表人才, that's what he want to achieve. This still have the look of somebody who is an eligible bachelor who is ready to find the next girl. But right now the state of being inside is a big contrast to the outside. Okay, so that's 一表人才. Cashing to the frequency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.